All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our last session before the reception. As you know, we have every day a motivational speaker, a keynote speaker, and our speaker for this afternoon is Chester Elton. How can I introduce Chester? When Mary Jo and I, this summer, we were at the Frontiers Conference in New York. We had the chance to see Chester and attend his presentation, and we immediately said, wow, we have to ask Chester if he accepts to come to Phoenix, to our conference, and speak with our audience about the topics he is so passionate about. So a few words about Chester. Chester is the co-author of a number of best-selling books which were on the lists of New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and the list goes on. His books include All In, The Carrot Principle, What Motivates Me, and actually the most recent book, which is so recent that it's not fully published yet, will come out in a few months in February. The Best Team Wins, and I already am happy to have the first copy here in hand, so thank you, Chester, for sharing that with us. Chester's books have been sold in many countries. They are translated in 30 languages, sold over 1.5 million copies. And when we spoke together, you told me that you have made presentations in over 40 countries. So you truly are a global citizen, a global traveler. Canadian national, I learned. I didn't know that, Canadian national. Chester is also the founder of a consulting company called The Culture Works, and he regularly speaks and engages with companies such as AT&T, American Express, or Procter & Gamble. So with no further ado, Chester, the floor is yours.
Appreciate that very much. Thanks. Good. So microphone working okay? Guys in the cheap seats, just wave. Thank you. Listen, I'm delighted to be with you here today. I've spent the day with you, and you know, I speak to a lot of different audiences in a lot of different countries, a lot of different organizations and industries. And it's funny because I've actually sat in your seat, you know, when the speaker comes up and you say, so what's in it for me? Like, how is this going to make me better, right? A better leader, whatever. Well, I've decided that the quality of any presentation is directly proportionate to the volume of applause that welcomes the speaker to the stage. So if you want this to be world class, you have to do better than whatever that was you attempted. Here's Chester! Yes! Thank you very much. Because of the presentations earlier today, I did add a slide to my deck, and it's this, just so you know. I have a 4.96 on Uber. Not that it makes any difference, okay? I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my journey, and our journey, actually. My co-author is Adrian Gostick. We've written together now for almost 20 years on what creates a great workplace, an engaging workplace, a high-performance culture. And we started our books with focusing on recognition. Very simple premise, the carrot principle. Somebody does something great, you notice it, you celebrate it, you give them the carrot. We adopted the international symbol, right, of reward and recognition, which is the carrot. Now, I want this to be really interactive. So if the carrot is the reward, what would be the opposite of the carrot? Just yell it out. Stick. Who said that? Well, way in the back. Sure, buddy, I can't throw these things that far. Are you coming? Incoming. Coming. Yes, give it to him. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. He knew carrots. Yes. So as we traveled, it was really fun. We picked up nicknames. We did work with DHL in Bonn, Germany. They named us the Deacons of Dankeschön. You know, then there was the Ministers of Motivation, the High Priests of Praise. The Dalai Lamas of Workplace Traumas was one of my favorites. I thought that was very clever. But Adrian and I grew up in Canada. Canada's largest newspaper is the Toronto Globe and Mail. And they dubbed us the Apostles of Appreciation. That's a great title. That's total props at your high school reunion, you know what I'm saying? So if we could bring up the volume here just a little bit. There we go. My brothers and sisters. As the apostle of appreciation. I'm not here just to give you the numbers and the case studies. Oh, no, I am here to preach and teach the power of culture. Can I get an amen? Can you put your hands in the air? Let it sway. Like, give me a little hallelujah. Gonna be more fun if you participate, sister. Yeah, a little higher. Not like I can't see you. Okay. I know what she's thinking. That was pretty mean for an apostle. Here you go. Incoming, little carrot. Good catch. Well, I want this to be fun and interactive. I did bring more carrots. Your odds are good because you sat close. Okay, excellent. I don't even have to walk. Here's what we found fascinating. So recognition was a key part of engaging your employees. Retention went up, customer service got better, and so on. However, the deeper we got into it, we found that if you didn't get the culture right, the recognition didn't matter. Does that make sense? If you didn't get the culture right, the recognition didn't matter. It's like they were trying to trick you to work for less, right? So that's why we wrote a book called All In. And what we took is a massive database and a bunch of case studies, and we put together a roadmap. Now, this is what's going to be valuable to you, right? The roadmap. It's very transferable. And I'm going to talk to you about a lot of different companies and organizations that have nothing to do with what you do. Restaurants, rental car companies, banks, whatever. Don't worry about the industry. Think about what is that principle, how do I translate it and transfer it to my team? Does that make sense? Because I'll tell you, it's really interesting to me with the speed of business, and you've talked about it, there's disruptive stuff and explosive growth and changes in platforms, excellent presentations, really engaging, wouldn't you agree? I find that there's basically two differentiators left in business today. One is great leaders. You can never have too many great leaders, right? But secondly is culture. And the reason for culture is it's hard to replicate, right? Products and services, pricing, locations, easily replicated and really fast now. Barriers to entry are very low. Culture, though, is really hard to replicate because there's an emotional connection to culture. Let me tell you what I mean. So we studied a lot of different cultures. One of my favorites was the Hard Rock Cafe. How many of you have been to a Hard Rock Cafe? Had fun at the Hard Rock? Yeah, it's not for everybody. I get it. I used to work in New York City. Hard Rock back then was on 57th between 8th and 9th, right? Small little restaurant at the time, upper balcony, lower bowl. So we go off for lunch, take a little break, little rock and roll, burger and a shake. And we were in the balcony this time. Down in the lower bowl were a bunch of college kids celebrating, whatever. Ends of exams, spring break was coming up. When this song came over the loudspeaker, if you name the tune, you win the carrot. You guys with me? Give me a little amen. Here we go. Can you name this tune? Love Shack. Ooh, like in 3 notes. You are not nearly old enough to know that song. Good for you. Yeah. So Love Shack comes over. If we can bring the volume up a little more, that'd be great. So when Love Shack comes on the loudspeaker, one of the college kids jumps up on the table and starts dancing. And it was hilarious because he was really good, right? Now, being the apostle, get my microphone here. I'm going to kind of divine the room here a little bit. If we can fire up our microphone here. Let me see. I'm going to take a look at, I'm going to go with you, brother, right here. Here we go. Your name is?
Dennis.
Dennis. So, Dennis, let me ask you a question. Remember you were out some friends, out for dinner, not the Hard Rock Cafe. And, it was getting a little later, and you jumped up and started dancing on the table. Do you remember that?
I actually did that, yes.
That's amazing you remember, because a lot of times you don't remember. You know what I'm saying?
Well, my wife's not here. That's why I can remember.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let me ask you something. In most restaurants, when you start dancing on the table, what do you expect the wait staff to do?
Applaud.
Applaud, yeah, because you're good. Yeah, you got the moves. But in most restaurants, wouldn't you agree that they'd get you off the table, escort you out, and encourage you to never come back? That's what normally would happen.
Yes.
Normally. Not to you. Not to you.
No.
No, but other people. Yeah, yeah. Well, what do you think happened at the Hard Rock Cafe?
They let him dance. They let the customer dance.
Let him dance. They applauded. They cheered. And in fact, get this, his waitress jumped up on the table and danced with him. How awesome is that? Not appropriate in most restaurants, absolutely appropriate at the Hard Rock Cafe because of the Hard Rock what? The Hard Rock culture. Yeah. See, the Hard Rock, they've got this philosophy that there's a little bit of rock star in everybody, right? A little bit of rock. It's true, isn't it, Dennis? You were this close. The big boss, the entourage, the groupies, you got tattoos we don't want to see, right? Another story for later, that's right. We're limited on time, but thank you. Here's my point. When you believe there's a little bit of rock star in everybody, do you treat your customers a little differently when you look at them as rock stars as opposed to just hungry? See, I think you do. And that is culture. You know what he's thinking right now? Where's my carrot? Where is it? I've got one for you. Here we go. Yeah, it's all about culture. That's the differentiator. Now, let me ask you something. How's the food at the Hard Rock? It's okay. It's not, I mean, it's okay. You know, maybe the burgers, maybe the pulled pork sandwich, but, you know, everybody's got a chicken Caesar salad, right? Why am I buying yours? We don't go there for the food. We go there for the experience, for the culture. Now, here's what's really fun. You know those engagement surveys everybody takes? And you fill it out. Will you recommend the job to a friend? You know, will you be here a year from now? Kind of lengthy sometimes. Hard Rock a couple years ago put out a one-question survey. And it was this. Tell me why your job rocks. And be creative in your answers. So they had guys that wrote songs, poetry, paintings. Some of the employees did YouTube videos. And I'm going to share one with you here today. This is a YouTube video that's put together by the dishwasher at the Hard Rock Cafe in Amsterdam. Okay? Now, as you watch the video, I can tell some of you have been to Amsterdam. As you watch the video, pay particular attention to the words he uses to describe his job, and then we'll talk about it. You ready? Here we go.
I just want to tell you guys that a dishwash is not really a dirty job, you know what I mean? I really have fun with what I'm doing. I work like 3 years now, and I still like my job. I just want to show to the world that you can be a dishwasher and you can still have fun doing the dishes. I just feel free. I can be what I am. I love it. Let's go inside. Follow me.
When I walk on by, girls be looking like Debbie Fly. I pimp to the beat, walking down the street and my new the freak, yeah. This is how I roll, animal print pants out control. It's Red Bull with the big ass bra, and like Bruce Lee, I got the clout, yeah. Girl, look at that body.
Now, give it up for the dishwasher at the Hard Rock. So, I was sharing this video with some pharmaceutical executives in Singapore. And I said, hey, why do you think that guy's so happy in his job? And the guy says, well, you know, there's a lot of things that are legal in Amsterdam. I like the pharma guys, right to the drugs, right? Yeah. So I brought with me the official orange all-in wristband. All the cool kids are wearing them. Everybody, ooh, ah. Okay, so for the wristbands, what were some of the words he used to describe his job? What do you say? What do you say? Free. Free to be what? For you and a couple of friends. Free to be what? Free to be who I am. I don't know how many of us want to be the world's greatest dishwasher. For him, it works out great. And when you're free to be who you are at work, isn't that kind of liberating? You know, no politics, no what they really mean when they say that, right? What else did he say? He loves his job. I love that you got that. Yeah, I love my job. For you and the whole table. Yeah, I love my job. See, we never found a highly engaged employee or a high-performance culture where there wasn't an emotional connection to work. Is he emotionally connected at work? Absolutely. What did he say right at the very beginning? It's fun. I know, reserved table way in the back. I don't even know. Incoming. Yes, wristbands raining down. Fun. Don't you love it when you're having a little fun at work? You can have a bit of a laugh, right? Do you think he's excited to come to work every day? Okay, now listen, I grew up in Canada, but I've lived in New Jersey now for over 20 years. So I want to bring a little Jersey into the house, yo. Know what I'm saying, yo? So that guy's job's the what? That guy's the frickin' dishwasher. You know what I'm saying? He's the frickin' dishwasher. Is he interacting with customers? No. Is it important you have clean dishes? Yeah, nobody cares about the dishes until they're dirty. That's right. But he's down in the basement rocking out. What do you think the rest of the house looks like? You think it's bumping up there? Absolutely. See, I got this theory. The reason I show you this video is I got this theory that when the dishwasher gets it, everybody gets it, right? Right down to the dishwasher. So when you think about your organizations, who's the dishwasher? Because who owns the culture? Everybody. That's right. Leaders set the parameters, but everybody owns the culture. That's what it's like at the Hard Rock. So here we go. We use a lot of music. We use a lot of videos when we teach and train because I think that emotional engagement, music does it. Would you agree? How many of you listen to a lot of music? Yeah. How many of you, when you're like working out or you're driving in your car, you got the iPod on shuffle, a song comes on and it takes you to a specific place in time? You ever had that? Yeah. The song comes, you're back in high school, college, first love, first kiss, when the divorce was final. You know what I'm saying? The breakup song, right? So we're going to play 3 songs. If you can get it, you win the carrot, and we'll talk about the principle. You ready? You'll get this one in 2 notes, I guarantee you. Happy, that's right, Happy. Pharrell, 2-time winner, you're no longer eligible. Oh, there you go, okay. See, when the culture's right, people are happy, right? You can see it. You walk in, it's noisy, they're talking to people, they're happy. How about this one, an oldie but a goodie? That's what friends are for. I love that you got that. I usually put that in for the women, sir, so good for you, yeah. That's what friends are for. So, you know, our research and a lot of people's research is, I have a best friend at work, right? How many of you have developed a great relationship with somebody at work? Not just a coworker, friend, got your back, right? I got your back. This last one is one of my favorites. I'm a believer in you, brother, yeah. See, my generation, that's the monkeys. For your kids, it's Shrek. You know what I'm saying? We thought long and hard about the subtitle of the book, this idea of a culture of belief that drives bigger results. And I love this definition. Some great sessions on culture, by the way. I sat in on a couple of them. You know, how does it drive performance? How does it drive behavior and so on? I love this definition of a great culture. It's a place where I believe what I do matters and it makes a difference. And I always add to that, and when I made a difference, it was noticed and celebrated. When I made a difference, it was noticed and it was celebrated. Well, these are the 2 questions we're going to ask today. First off, are you all in as a leader? And then secondly, is your team all in? Now, you can't get yes to the second question if you don't answer yes to the first question, right? It's got to be do as I do, not do as I say. Well, it's really interesting. This book was based on rock-solid research. It was conducted by Towers Watson of the Elements of a High-Performance Culture. 2009, 2010. It was one of the largest studies ever conducted. This is your skill testing question. Your name is? Kate. Kate, if you answer correctly, you get the book. Are you excited? Okay, here we go. How large was the study? Was it a 2-year study of 300,000 people, a 20-year study of 30,000 people, a 200-year study of only 20 people, or a 30-minute study of NBC's The Office? What is your guess on this one? A, correct. She gets the book. Give her a round of applause. Love it. 300,000, a ridiculously large sample survey, okay? And here's what we looked at. We said, okay, there are certain brands that people are connected to, right? I'm going to throw a couple logos up here just for fun. How many of you are big Disney fans? Yeah, been to Disney more than once, right? Twice, 3 times, can I hear 10? They have helplines, right, for people that have a problem with going to Disney, yeah. And it's funny, there's a different vibe at Disney, isn't there? It's different than Six Flags. They've got the great rides and everything, but the employees aren't employees or team members or associates. They are cast members. They don't come to work, they come to perform. It's a different gig, isn't it? Any Amazon fans? Yeah, Amazon Prime? Yes, is that like the greatest thing ever? Movies, songs, it's the 23rd of December. I haven't bought one Christmas present and I'm not panicked because I know it's going to show up, right? Wrapped in exactly the way I want it. Apple fans? Yeah, we did a really cool case study at the end of last year on Apple retail stores. How many of you have been to a retail store? Yeah, transformed retail, really, didn't it? How many people work at an Apple store? Yeah, you don't know, do you? They just keep coming out of the back. They swarm. And then this is one that I mentioned, 4.98 on my score. Yeah, but we have an emotional connection to these logos. We'll drive a little further, we'll spend a little more, right? We'll recommend it to a friend. So the question I have is, when you think of your logo or your company, what's the reaction? Now I'm going to throw up the obvious one. They're our wonderful hosts. A little round of applause. Thank you. But, you know, substitute your logo there, right? What is the reaction? Now, not just the reaction of your customers, but what's the reaction of your employees? Are they proud to tell people where they live and work, right? You know, we did a case study on Zappos that was really cool, and they encouraged them to wear their badges everywhere they went. People would ask them when they were at the drugstore, "Ooh, you work for Zappos. Tell me a little bit about it." You know, are they proud to tell people where they work? They're your best ambassadors, right? Well, and then the question is, what is your personal brand? Because it's really interesting. Your culture and your brand are inextricably connected. I love this quote. We visited Quicken Loans last year. It was really interesting. I love this. If you don't create a culture will create itself, and it might not be the one you want. And culture is not something that shows up at the end of the year at the year-end banquet. Culture is an everyday thing. When the alarm clock goes off, how do I feel about going to work? How do I feel about the people I work with? How do I feel about what I do? Do I make a difference? And is it noticed? Okay? So, how do we get the people to buy it? That was the big question. So back to the roadmap. If you look in the interior, there's the engage, enable, and energize. Not just engaged, but enabled and energized, right? I love that definition, the attachment to work, willing to give extra effort or discretionary effort, right? Enabled, I've got the training and the tools to deliver on the promise of the culture. And then lastly, am I energized? Not just what I do and how I do it, but why? What is my noble cause? How am I making the world a little better place? Well, it's interesting. So what does it mean to be engaged at work? We've all had disengaged employees, am I right? We've all had somebody on our team that just didn't really fit, and we had trouble with that. Well, I found a video of the disengaged employee leaving work at the end of the day, and I got it off the internet, and so it has to be true, right? They don't let you put stuff up there that's not true. This is the disengaged employee leaving work, end of the day, just pretty excited, to get out, get to the weekend, whatever it might be. The problem is they have to come back the next morning, right? And what does that look like? Not so productive. Well, in the Carrot Principle, we actually did an international study in the top economic centers of the world and said, what is it that drives employee engagement? Look at that. Number one, development and well-being. I have a chance to learn, grow, and develop. Secondly, high levels of trust, right? If you don't have trust in the workplace, you really don't have much. But look at that last one, pride in the symbol. I see the symbol, and there's a pride connected to that we make a difference, that this is a great place to work. So we found that fascinating. What we want to know, what were the drivers of the drivers? Look at this, goal setting and accountability. In other words, we kept our promises. We said we were going to do it, and we did it the way we said we would. Trust was all about communication. Getting a little trickier now, right? With the multi-generational workplace. How do you communicate effectively, right? And then lastly, appreciation. Get that. The number one driver of the number one driver was the carrot. Now, Adrian and I, we didn't get our PhDs in statistics. I will admit, when I was in university, I took a stats class because you had to, right? I will admit, I was in the half of the class that made the upper half of the class possible, okay? So we would hire really smart guys to mine the data and say, if we say this, is it true? And I said, is it possible to have a highly engaged employee that doesn't feel valued and appreciated? They said it's almost statistically impossible. There's always an outlier, right? But it's almost statistically impossible. Think about that. Well, next one, enabled at work. Best explained in a quick story. Adrian, my co-author, has a son, Tony. He had an iPod that had stopped working. And so they went to an Apple store. The guy says, can I help you? He says, sure. What's wrong? He says, son's iPod stopped working. Maybe you can do that Genius Bar thing, and fix it. He says, great, let me take a look. Starts playing with it, it's playing with the wheel. As he moves it from one hand to the next, it slips and it drops and it bangs off the floor. And he goes, oh, I am so sorry. Let me go get you a new one. So he goes to the back, gets the latest and greatest iPod. He says, here you go, Tony, enjoy your iPod. Adrian says, great, how do I pay for that? He goes, oh, no, sir. Our policy is, if we drop it, we replace it at no charge. Adrian is telling me this on the phone. I said, dude, I would have so been there the very next day, talking to that same kid, but handing him my laptop. Play with that. And it was interesting because Adrian said, look, I don't want it to come out of your pay. I'm happy to pay for it. It wasn't working when we came in. Pretty sure it wasn't working from here all the way to there. He said, no, that's our policy. Please enjoy your iPod. How many people do you think we've told that story to? Like literally through our LinkedIn and everything, hundreds of thousands of people know that story. So I'm fascinated with Apple stores. So I went down to our manager. There's an Apple store not too far from where I live. And I said, is that your policy? He goes, yeah. He says, we train very carefully with all our people, and we empower them to, when they make a mistake, to make it right. He says, but you know what? We train just as hard, if not harder, on what they can't do, because we never want to make a promise we can't keep. Isn't that interesting? So I hope your takeaway is, have I empowered my people? Do we have the right training in place? Do we have the right parameters? Have we coached them up so that when something goes on, they can just do it, right? Because just show of hands really quick, how many of you love to be micromanaged? Yeah, exactly, right? Empower your people, and that adds to their happiness at work and their productivity. Well, interesting. Energize is my favorite, right? Because that's not just the what and the how, it's the why. So our case study in this one is WestJet. We got some Canadians in the crowd, don't we? A couple of Canadians. You know WestJet. Okay, do you know the WestJet Christmas miracle? Every Canadian knows this story. Now, for the Americans and everybody else, once a year, WestJet does like something wacky for their customers. Like every year, they do like flash dances, they build parks, whatever. This one is my favorite. This is a few years ago now. I want to show you the video. With their permission, I've shortened it up. They put it on YouTube. Pay attention to the reaction of the passengers, right, that they perform this miraculous feat. But just as importantly, watch the faces of the WestJetters. That's what they call their employees. And then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
'Twas a night before Christmas, and all across the land, the good folks of WestJet had a miracle planned. On the eve before flying, the guests were in their beds. Visions of traveling danced in their heads. While out on the runway, something secret had arrived. It was left in the lounge. 'Twas a Christmas surprise.
Oh, hello there! Is that Cohen? What are you looking for Christmas this year, Cohen? A choo-choo train? What would Mommy and Daddy like for Christmas?
Big TV. What I need is new socks and underwear.
An Android tablet.
Some Santa boots.
While the guests told their Christmas wishes to good old St. Nick, WestJetters took notes and got ready to shop quick. It was a great rush with the 2 flights in the air to get all those presents. Not a moment to spare.
Sleigh bells ringing, there's children singing tonight. Santa's coming to town, he's coming tonight. Okay, Thomas, let's get it.
But was everything ready? We all had to wait for the moment of truth at Carousel 8.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
No way!
Where's the Hughes family?
The guests never expected what they'd asked of St. Nick would actually appear. It was all quite a trick. A WestJetter would say it was more than mere fun. Miracles do happen when we all work as one. We'll give Santa the last word on this most special night.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good flight.
Come on, big round of applause for WestJet. Isn't that a great story? So, a couple of fun facts. You know, I'd encourage you to go on YouTube and do the full, 9 minutes. So really some other cute things that happen. But go to the outtakes as well. You know the guy who says, hey, I want new socks and underwear? In the outtakes, Santa literally says to him, ho, 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 are you sure you don't want a big screen TV? So here's what's fun. I mean, think about it for a minute. You're one of the passengers, right? I make a wish, I get on a plane, I get off the plane, I go to baggage, it comes down wrapped exactly what I want. What does that tell you about their logistical capabilities? Pretty awesome? Do you think they can find your bag? Yeah, I want to show that to United Airlines. My point is this. In the airline industry, right, when people are at the luggage carousel and they're crying, it's not usually because something good happened. you know what I'm saying? I think most airlines, their new motto is, in our airline, we're not happy until you're not happy, right? Something they can deliver on. Well, my bigger point is this. Did you see the faces of the customers? Astonished. Do you think they told their friends and family? Think they're flying that airline again? And what about the WestJetters? Talk about the ultimate team effort, right? You got guys taking the orders. You got guys shopping. You got the one guy dressed up like a cookie, I mean, they're all doing their part to deliver an extraordinary customer experience. Do you think that could have happened if those employees hated coming to work every day? Do you think they're proud to work there? Think they were excited to pull that off? Because here's the thing. I've got a cousin who lives in Calgary. His son works for WestJet. And he said, you know, here's the rest of the story. He says, we didn't make a big deal out of this, but in our hub cities, we went to the shelters for the displaced families. We took their wishes and we delivered those presents too. We didn't videotape it. Wouldn't be appropriate. What does that tell you about their heart? Think that drove a little pride in the organization? Okay, now here's the thing. How many people you think saw that video on YouTube? Canadians are not eligible. How many people you think saw that? Yell it out. Well, not billions. Yeah, millions, right? 44 million and counting. 44 million hits on a 9-minute long video. Do you know how many Canadians there are? Yeah, like 32, 33 million. That's why every Canadian in this place knew that story. And now you. That's the kind of advertising loyalty. Now, do you think they're profitable? Yeah, they're 3 times more profitable than the next airline in Canada. 3 times. Same planes, pay the same price for gas. They've got unions, everybody's got unions. Now, Toronto Globe and Mail did a study. They said, you know what? It is actually harder to get a job as a baggage handler at WestJet than it is to get into the Harvard School of Business. See, cultures, right? Good cultures, they attract the right people, they repel the wrong people. And I often thought, wouldn't that be an interesting conversation to have with your child? You know, your son comes up to you and says, Dad, I've decided I want to be a baggage handler at WestJet. You think, slow down, pal. Let's lower the bar just a little bit. Let's see if we can get you to the Harvard School of Business first, you know, a safe school. That's the power of culture. That's the differentiator. And does it make good business sense? Absolutely it does. Well, here's the numbers. Companies with low engagement, about 10% operating margin. High engagement, 14.3, nice jump. But look what happens when you enable and you energize your people. Productivity literally doubles. It literally doubles. So are these nice things to do for your employees? Absolutely. Does it make good business sense? Undeniably. Numbers are there. So again, who owns the culture? Everybody. Right down to the who? Right down to the dishwasher. Absolutely. Well, as we started to look at culture, we said, you know what? It's about getting the right people in the right jobs with the right passion. You've heard that, right? All the disruption is, let's get to the right people with the right passion. Here we go. So we looked at another data set. In cumulative over the last 15 years, we have a data set of 850,000 engagement surveys. And here's what we found, is that you got to be aware of your biases when you deal with your people, right? Take a look. You know, so we have these rules that apply to everybody, right? What does it mean to your team? It's really interesting, particularly in a multi-generational workforce. A lot of the rules don't apply anymore, right? Old school is we treat everybody the same because that's fair. And I would submit to you, it's also a little lazy. It's easy to say, well, that's our policy. It applies to everybody, right? New school is we treat people as individuals. We've got remote employees. We've got volunteers. We've got multi-generation. We've got different languages. We've got different traditions. If you're treating everybody the same, you're going to lose out on a lot of engagement and a lot of productivity. Well, I got a video I want to show you. 2 different approaches to the same kid with dramatically different results. One of my favorite movies of all time, by the way. Here we go. See what you think.
Let's go. Horse, you got 100 pounds on Collis and you can't keep him out of our backfield? Hold your block until the whistle blows. Hold it. Holding. Left tackle. Come here. Will you look at me, son? If you grab him outside here like this or that horse collar thing you just did, you're going to get flagged and I'm going to be pissed. You hear me? All right, let's go.
They'll be terrified till they realize he's a marshmallow.
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
Thank me later. Michael, do you remember when we first met and we went to that horrible part of town to buy you those dreadful clothes? And I was a little bit scared and you told me not to worry about it because you had my back. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if anyone tried to get to me, you would have stopped them, right? And when you and SJ were in that car wreck, what did you do to the airbag?
Stopped it?
You stopped it. You stopped it. This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Listen. Okay. Tony here's your quarterback, all right? You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back, how you have his, okay? All right, Tony, go back. All right. Oompa Loompa here is your tailback. When you look at him, you think of SJ and how you've never let anyone or anything hurt him. You understand me? Are you going to protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Good boy. Now go have some fun. Yelling at him doesn't work, Bert. Doesn't trust men. In his experience, they pretend to care about you till they disappear. Jay, you're going to want to get this. Okay. Come on.
Okay. What'd you say to him?
You should get to know your players, Bert. He tested 98% in protective instincts. I said you could thank me later. It's later, Bert.
Interesting, right? What's the movie? Blindside, yeah. So here's what's really interesting. Why didn't the head coach's approach work? Why didn't it work? Yeah, he didn't tap into his motivators. He didn't know the kid. You know, and I got managers like that, right? Don't take offense, I yell at everybody. Well, you know, maybe you shouldn't, particularly that kid, right? How about this one? Her approach was different. What did she do to put it in context for him? She told him what to, she put it in, told him a story, right? And she said, look, you know, this is your family, protect your family. That was the way to communicate. I love the line where she says, get to know your players. He doesn't trust men. His experience is they pretend to care about you till they disappear. You know, it's interesting. I do some volunteer work for our church in an inner city congregation. Absolutely true. Young men, you know, I was working with them. By the way, I'd show up and I told them how great it was going to be. I was going to be here. We're going to work with them. And I know the guys get hockey tickets. You know, these are a bunch of inner city kids. They could care less about hockey. But it's just because they haven't seen a game. Do you know what I'm saying? Are we with me, Canadians? If you see a hockey game, you will love hockey, right? Anyway, I'm like, and about 3 months later, finally they start to warm up to me. 3 months, every Sunday I'm coming to see him. You know what they wanted to know from me? Is he going to show up? As soon as they knew I was going to show up, then they trusted me. It's the same in business. Your employees want to know, are you going to show up for me? Have you got my back? Interesting, isn't it? Work is life, life is work. Well, what was the impact on performance? If you know the story, he gets a full ride scholarship to Ole Miss, goes on to play in the NFL, becomes all-pro, plays in 2 Super Bowls. This guy's got a Super Bowl ring. May not have happened if the coaches didn't take the time to figure out what is it that really motivates this kid. How do I treat him differently to get the maximum potential and productivity out of him? Well, what if you knew each of your teams and motivators and identities? This was really fun. So we actually constructed an online assessment. You know how you've taken Myers-Briggs, that's who you are. Strength Finders, that's what you're good at. What we thought was missing is, what are you passionate about? It took about 2 years to put together this assessment. And what we wanted to look at is, as you take the assessment, it rank orders your motivators. So as you look at your team, you say, well, what do we have that's in common? What's our common language? You know, what do we have that's unique? And what are areas of caution? Where do we have some disconnects? Let me give you an example. This is our little company, our partners, right? Chester, Steve, and Adrian, right? Our top 7 motivators that are really strong, our bottom 3 that are weak, and then our identities. You know, are you a caregiver, achiever? So I'm going to go through this really quick, but we can talk a little later if you're interested in more detail. Our common languages, we all like variety, which is great because we all live in different cities, right? No 2 days in our work is ever the same, and that's just the way we like it, right? Now, take a look and say, what are some of our unique things? Friendship for me is high. It's not as high for every other guy. Service, impact, fun. We don't want to be the same person because we want diversity of thought. We want different looks, right? This is where it gets really interesting. Where are areas of caution? Well, I like to have fun. Steve, not so much, right? So when we're in meetings and I joke around a little bit, sometimes, and this is before we had this, we were having this meeting, and Steve was making a presentation. He was really impassioned, and I made a joke just to kind of lighten the mood. And he said, you know what, Chester, sometimes I don't think you take me very seriously. I went, whoa, dude, I was kidding. But now that you mention it, you know, that's a problem unless we know it, and then we can address it. How about this one? Empathy, very high for me, very low for Adrian. When a customer has a problem, who do you think calls the customer? Yeah, it's me. It's not Adrian. It's suck it up. Come on, read the manual. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care. This was my another one. Teamwork. I like to do things by consensus. Adrian, not so much. He's a pretty smart guy. Doesn't talk to a lot of people, but he's a pretty smart guy. And comes to a conclusion, and it's probably right. Right? I have the opposite approach. Let's ask a bunch of people. This is my favorite. Money. Number one reason for divorces in America, disagreements on money, right? Steve and I, it's really low. Adrian, it's really high. When we go to do video projects and stuff, Adrian's putting it out to bid to 15 different people. Me and Steve, we just want to work with the guys we like. You know, they do good work for us. Now that we know this about each other, everything goes a lot smoother because we can speak each other's language. We know what the hot buttons are. We know what the hot buttons aren't. And it puts together. Now, we did a case study with Wendy's. You're going to love this. So Wendy's, Diane, right? She's the manager. She manages 9 different regions, right? 8 different regions. Look at one of her top motivators, pressure. She loves pressure. Now, she's a baby boomer. The rest of her reports, they're all millennials, all of them. And look at this, an employee number 8. Pressure is down on number 23. And she was about to quit, literally. And we were doing this exercise with him. And what was Diane's biggest complaint? Employee number 8 never gets me my reports on time. What do you think employee number 8's complaint was about her manager? You never give me enough time. Then they knew that. They figured it out. Now, changed their relationship. In fact, it was really interesting. Employee 8 said, this exercise saved my job. I loved what I did. I just didn't like who I was doing it for, right? Now, look at this one. She's a boomer, right? Learning. I've already kind of gone through all that kind of stuff, right? I'm a little advanced in my career. Learning's not a high priority. Look at her direct reports. Almost all of them had it in their top 7. She went, ooh. So now when they have their monthly meetings or their monthly or weekly calls, she makes sure that we have a little segment on what did you learn? How can we pass that on to other people? Isn't that interesting? When you know. Now, we talk about the speed of change in business. You know, you got to onboard people faster. You got to make sure you get people in the right jobs doing the right things. These kinds of insights can be really valuable in making sure you got the right people doing what, not just what they're good at, but what they're passionate about. Well, as my gift to you, we're always looking to build our database, right? It's all about the database. If you text 72,000, and it'll break it up, 720-00, and in the comment line you put carrot, it will ping you back, and it will give you a code, and you can go online and take the assessment for free. Usually there's a little applause around that. Anyway, I would love your feedback on the experience and tell me what you think, okay? Well, really interesting. We never found a high-performance culture where there wasn't a culture of celebration. I believe what I do matters, I make a difference, and it was noticed and celebrated, right? I want to give you some practical things, because this is the soft stuff. And I know a lot of managers bridle at that. I do hard stuff. I got to get hard things done. So yeah, but the data, and I will prove it to you, that when you get the soft stuff right, the hard stuff gets easier. It's the stuff your mom and dad taught you, right? By the way, this is common sense stuff, but it's uncommonly practiced. We know we should do it, but we get caught up and we just forget to do the simple little things that make a workplace so much better. Now, what did your mom and dad teach you when you were 5 years old? What did they always say? Remember to say, please and thank you. Clean up after yourself. Don't push, don't hit, don't bite. You might want to write that down. It's still good advice, right? Our first managers, without doubt, were our parents. Those are my parents. John, Dalton, Elton, his lovely bride, Irene. And my mom loves that I show you this picture, but she's gone a little high tech. She's created a little video with a little advice for you here today. So listen up, because this is my mom. Here we go.
We're Chess's mom and dad, and we've been married 64 years. So listen up, for he's got a lot of things to tell you. And for heaven's sake, buy a lot of books.
Yeah, what she said.
Give it up for Dalton and Irene. A round of applause. So, some practical things for you. We studied a really amazing manager at Avis Budget Rental Cars. His name's Carlos Aguilera. That's him in the yellow shirt. Every measure of a manager, off the charts. High engagement, low turnover, high customer service, high profitability, that's him. So we interviewed him for our book. Great guy, by the way, works in Dallas, manages about 400 people, big crew. He started to tell me all the things he does to engage his people. I said, Carlos, you do a lot, just give me your best practice. He said, oh, that's easy. It's 10 pennies. I said, what's 10 pennies? He said, when I grew up in business, I had managers that were really quick to point out what I did wrong and really slow to point out what I did right. And I made up my mind if I ever got to be a leader, I wouldn't be that kind of leader. So to remind myself that there are good things happening every day, I put 10 pennies in my left pocket to start the day. And I set a goal to have 10 positive interactions with my people every day. And the way I keep track is I move a penny from my left pocket to my right pocket. Then he said this, I thought it was interesting. If I get to lunch and I've got 8 pennies in my left pocket, I'm not doing my job. Where's he got to be to have 10 positive interactions with his people? He's got to be with his people. Now, he can't be there physically. Sometimes he's texting them, he's calling them, he's dropping them notes, whatever it might be. When Carlos shows up to one of his locations, do you think they're happy to see him? Yeah. He's got that deposit in the bank right now. I know what you're thinking. Well, he's working in the rental car industry. That's all unicorns and rainbows. Nothing ever goes wrong there, right? Except when people crash the cars or lose the cars or leave their kids in the cars or throw up in the cars, right? There's things that go wrong. And, his employees drive them too fast and they're not as safe as they should be. But when he's got to coach them up when they've done something wrong, do you think they're listening to him? Of course they are, because he's not there to beat them up every time he shows up. Well, Avis loved this idea. This is a couple of years ago now. They did a bus tour of North America to put the employee first. And this was the message. You are appreciated. You, the employee, whether you're an on-site driver, a maintenance guy, you're a clerk, whatever it might be, you are appreciated. They brought T-shirts, barbecues, donuts. It was great. And I love that banner, right? I thought it was a little weird that it was underneath barbed wire. Like, we love you. You can't leave, but we love you, right? Well, what was the impact? The impact and the message was this, that the customer experience will never exceed the employee experience. Now, I know you know that, but what are you doing every day to make sure that before the phones ring, before you see that raft of emails coming in or Twitter or whatever it might be, before the doors open, are your people excited to engage with their customers? Because there's no way you can have a toxic environment and have a great customer experience. It's impossible. Well, what were the results? Year to year, after they did this big campaign, revenue was up 32%, $1.9 billion. Is it a nice thing to do? Absolutely. Is it good business sense? 1.9 billion is still a lot of money, right? Well, he didn't know this, but Harvard actually did a study about what the ratio should be in a positive to negative to create a positive workplace. So this is going to be your skill testing question. Your name is? Jade, okay. What do you think the ratio should be? It's for the book. Now pay attention. Okay. Do you think it should be 1 to 1? In other words, 1 compliment to 1 criticism, 2 compliments to 1 criticism, 3 compliments to 1 criticism, or 5 to 1? Just intuitively, which one would you go with here? B. There's a comedian in every crowd. D, there you go. Yeah, 5 to 1. 5 to 1. Now, yes, a little round of applause for our friend. So, here's what's interesting. I was talking to a group of executives, and I didn't have the prompt. I said, what do you think the ratio should be? One said, I think it should be 1 to 1. I said, defend your answer. And he said, well, that's balance. For every compliment, there's a criticism. That's balance. I said, great. Just for fun, why don't you try that at home with your wife and see how that works out for you, right? Like you're going to go out, a nice dinner and a show, and your spouse comes down the stairs and says, how do I look? Always a dangerous question, am I right? Yeah. Said, oh man, that color, that dress, just makes your eyes sparkle. Sparkle. Does make you look fat, but the sparkle, but the fat, but the sparkle, but the fat. What are your odds of getting to the restaurant or sleeping in that house that night? Yeah, 0. 1 to 1 is negative. 2 to 1 is negative. 3 to 1 is neutral. 5 to 1 is, now Harvard says, by the way, that it's actually 5.6. I was surprised it wasn't 5.6937 because it's Harvard, right? Now, work is life and life is work. University of Washington did a study with married couples, newlyweds. They put them in a room for 15 minutes and had them do a puzzle. And they recorded the positive to negative ratio. Here's what they found. That if the ratio was about 1 to 1, within 3 years, they could predict with 94% accuracy they would be divorced. If it was 5 to 1, they were still married. Your takeaway here should be, I'm not going to do a puzzle with my spouse unless I'm really sure it could end your relationship prematurely. Isn't it interesting? Now, online, my nephew works at Amazon. Do you know how many positive 5 stars you need to negate one 1-star review? It's 20. It's 20 to 1. And you've done that. You've been on Amazon. 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, 1 star, I'm out. Right? He didn't like it, I probably won't either. Right? 20 to 1. So what's your ratio? What's your ratio with your people? Is it a positive workplace environment? Because here are the results. An 11-year study by Cotter and Haskett, Harvard School of Business. Over an 11-year period, look at the revenue growth. In cultures that stay agile in ever-changing markets, highly value employees, and encourage leadership from everybody. Simple, simple things, right? Uncommonly practiced. Here's the tips. We're wrapping up here. You guys still with me? Give me a yeah. Here we go. Do it now, do it often, be specific, be sincere. Do it now. Now, when we think about recognition, a lot of times we think it's the stuff. It's the plaque, the watch, the whatever. It's not. It's communication. We celebrate what we value. Does that make sense? We celebrate what we value. So as we go through here, don't think about the stuff. Think about, what am I communicating? Now, somebody does something great and I recognize it right away. What's the message? What am I communicating when I recognize it right away? I don't hesitate. What's the message? It's important. I do important things when? Right now. I don't wait till the end of the week, then a month, the end of the year. If it's important, I do it right now, right? Because rewarded behavior gets repeated. And the closer the reward is to the behavior, the more likely it is to be repeated. The closer the recognition is to the behavior, the more likely it is to be repeated, right? Now, we get this in sports, right? You win the game, you get the trophy. You get it right now. They don't say, oh, you're all sweaty, go get changed. Or, hey, let's just pass out all the trophies together at the end of the year. You know, basketball, football, baseball. It'll save us a lot of time. No. Whatever the sport is, you know, whether it's hockey or baseball or the Olympics or, you know, Wimbledon, it's right now. Now, in American football, there's a weird tradition that the winning team does for the coach. What is it? The Gatorade bath, right? Boosh. Does the coach enjoy that? What? Why? Why does he enjoy it? What does it mean? They won. Yeah, they don't do that for the losing coach, right? Oh, geez, we lost, and now I'm all sticky, right? Or 2 weeks later when they bump into him at the mall, coach, it's just not the same. You do it now, right? You do it now. Well, it's really interesting. I'm Canadian. How many of you like to watch the Olympics? Yeah, Winter Olympics? Yeah, absolutely right. See, for most countries, it's this winter sports festival. If you're Canadian, it's a hockey tournament. Am I right? I'll pay attention to ice dancing when they start punching each other. You know what I'm saying? The last Olympics, the Canadians won the gold medal, the men, right? And the women did too. It's really pretty cool. Men, women, when did they get their medals? Right away. They got their skates on and everything. Because you know what? Nobody cares who finished second, because those people are sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Trust me, if you're Canadian, that is really funny. Now, let's have some fun. I want to have a little fun with you here today. Let's have a vote. How many of you think you can get too much recognition at work? Just raise your hand. It becomes trite. Get too much. How many not enough? You can never get none of. How many of you don't vote? You really are Americans. Sad but true. My point is this. My point is this. In our personal lives, we get this. We get into the workplace, we forget. So another quick question for you. I hope you'll participate. How many of you in your personal lives right now consider yourselves madly in love? Madly in love, happily married. Okay, you know, sister, in the thing right there with the tiger, come on up. I want to talk to you. Come on up. Hurry, encourage you. And we're running out of time, so hurry. Come on up here. We'll get our microphone. Seriously, we are running out of time. Pick up the pace. Here we go. Okay. Thank you very much. Here we go. Okay, so your name is?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, and you are madly in love.
Yes.
Happily married?
Yes.
Same person?
Yes.
Okay, good. You never know. That's why you ask. How long have you been married?
3.5 years.
You know that almost doesn't count, right? Okay, yeah. 3.5. Give it up for 3.5 years. There we go. And your spouse's name is?
Lloyd.
Lloyd. Okay, so how often do you and Lloyd do something that says, I love you? How often does that happen?
Oh, probably about 4 or 5 times a day.
4 or 5 times a day? Seriously?
Seriously.
Wow.
Not crazy over the top.
Yeah, but it's too much. Yeah. No, I wrote the bestseller, so pay attention, okay? Yeah. So first off, not only is it too much, I mean, I love you, I love you, I love you, you know. No, you hang up first.
Oh, no.
You. You know, the thing is, like, how many times do you have to tell him before he believes you? You know what I'm saying? Here's what you got to do. it's not efficient. What you should be doing is just having a year-end banquet. You know what I mean? No, seriously. End of the year, throw a little shrimp on the barbie, a little marlow. Wouldn't that be better?
No.
Why?
We need to enjoy each other's company all year long.
You like the positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
And you like it often.
Yeah.
Several times a day.
Yeah.
Because you're high maintenance. No, I'm just kidding.
He's high maintenance.
Yeah, no, I was just saying what they're thinking. So here's the thing. How does it make you feel? You say, I love you. He says, I love you back. How does it make you feel?
Loved.
Yeah, it makes you feel great. Can you hear it too much?
Yeah.
No, can you hear it too? Can you feel great too much?
No.
No, yeah, that's the right answer. Thank you. Yeah, you can. Can I hear love you too much? No, you can't. See, I love you in your personal life translates to thank you in the workplace. You might want to write that down, buddy. Do not get that mixed up. It's I love you in your personal life, just thank you in the workplace. When you get it mixed up, it causes HR all kind of problems, you know what I'm saying? So what do we have for you and your lovely spouse? I've got over here. You're going to love this. His and her carrots. Congratulations. Thanks so much. Give her a little round of applause. So we get it, right? We get it in our personal lives. You can't hear it too much, but it's got to be specific. See, they've been married 3.5 years. It'll change. 3.5 years. I mean, he says, I love you. She says, love you back. They know exactly what that means. In the workplace, if you're going to write something down, write this down. General praise has no impact. General praise, you may think you're being the big motivator. You know what I'm saying? Coming to work and you go, hey, great job. You know, finger goes, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Just strafing the place, right? Doesn't mean anything. Specificity means everything. Tell me why it was a great job so I can do it again, right? And then lastly, be sincere. And I think specificity is very sincere, right? But never forget, right? Since the smartphone came in, does anybody work 9 to 5? No, right? You text somebody, you expect a response no matter what time of day it is, right? Remember, behind these people, there are families and support groups. And when you recognize them, that's a great culture because I care about you as a person. Tell you a quick story. So I worked for a guy named Kent Murdoch, who's a great guy, and I traveled a lot for Kent. I'll never forget, I was at Dulles Airport looking for my connecting flight. You know the drill, right? You got your wheelie, your backpack, I'm on the cell phone, we're talking about some customer's problem. Anyway, figured it out, closed the call. My phone rings again immediately. Caller ID, it's my lovely wife, Heidi. The call you take no matter where you are if you want to continue to be happily married. And I pick it up, I said, honey, what's up? She said, Chess, you're not going to believe what happened. A guy just dropped off 24 beautiful long-stemmed roses to the house. And at first I thought they were from you. I knew they weren't. And I was pretty curious who they were from. You know what I mean? See that note? It was from my boss, Kent Murdoch. I just hung up. You can't make this up. And the note said something like this. Heidi, thanks for taking care of all the big things at home so Chester can do big things on the road for us. The sacrifice isn't lost on me. Enjoy the flowers. All the best. Kent. Everybody. I know, right? Now, here's what's interesting. He knows we love flowers and roses in particular. Did he send her 24 red roses? No, that would have been inappropriate. Husbands on the road. Right? We wrote a book called The 24-Carat Manager. 24 is our number. Carats are generally orange, right? I don't know if you picked up the orange, the watch. Do you see the socks? Yeah. Hard to find, but when you do, almost always on sale. It's a bonus. Yeah. Do you think that was lost on us, the little things? Absolutely not. Made it even more impactful. How do you think it made me feel about working for Kent Murdoch? 2 thumbs up, right? How do you think it made my wife feel about me being away from home working for Kent Murdoch? Because that's the key, right? Here's how the conversation ended, and I kid you not. Chess, where are you? I'm at Dulles Airport looking for my connecting flight. She said, well, don't you dare miss that flight. Those are good people you're working for. For roses. Well, it's really interesting, right? I love that. It's a wow experience. You know, that was a wow. I'll never forget that. That was years ago. We still talk about it. So next time somebody does something great for you, and we'll go up to the camera on this one, don't just say, hey, great job. You know what? Go up to them and say, you know what? That was wow. See, it spells wow. W-O-W. Wow. Wow. This is mom. This is wow. Don't have a cow. Ooh, boo. You'll use that. Okay. Well, we're running out of time here, so we're going to pick up the pace. Here we go. So, back to the screen here really quick. Little things you can do. Handwritten notes, right? Nobody does that anymore. Mail it to the house. They'll share with their families. Tickets to a movie. You know, a recognition box. Nothing says I love you like a Rolex watch. You know what I'm saying? Those little things. But it's a pat on the back, right? It's a little, hey, how you doing? How are you doing? And a pat on the back is different than a slap to the head. You know what I'm saying? It's a little spatial kind of review. He does not see that coming. Oh, yeah, there we go. I love that's a great screensaver, by the way. Now, I know you guys have tough days because you're the leaders and you never get a day off, right? But you want to make your day better? Go appreciate somebody else. Go be grateful for all the little things that happen that go right every day and see what your ratio is. Are you quick to point out what's going right or are you quick to point out what's going wrong? Well, it's rock solid database. That's the roadmap, right? And I get it that as leaders you're busy. You're like the guy on the other side of the ping pong table. You know, you're getting a lot of things done and you're putting that ball back in play because that's what you do. And you know, sometimes you have got time. It's not that bad. You can put that ball back. Yeah, I got it. I got this. But sometimes it's hard. Harder. Really hard. Stand on your head hard, you know. But you keep putting the ball in play because that's what you do. You show up. Your people know you're showing up. You're putting that thing back. And sometimes, you know, it gets kind of tough. You got to improvise. You got to go above and beyond to get that ball over. You know what I'm saying? Little round of applause for the Chinese ping pong team. So, one more stat, one more video. We'll close it out. This is my favorite number. People that are happy at work are 150% more happy in their personal lives. Send your people home happy. We've all had bad jobs, and we take that anger and we share it with every member of our family, don't we? And then when we're finished with them, we go outside and we kick the dog, right? But the opposite is true. When you've had a great day and you come home energized. I love that because everybody on the team matters. Culture is everybody. This is my favorite video of all time. This is a high school basketball team in upstate New York found the perfect way to recognize not the star player, but the team manager.
Greece Athena High School in Rochester, New York has a new, most unlikely hero, a special ed student by the name of Jason McElwain.
Let's keep it going.
Jason is the basketball team manager. For the past couple years, he's been assisting Coach Jim Johnson, helping with whatever the team needs.
And go! Get them motivated and hand out water and just be enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic, to say the least. Despite being born with autism, Jason's father says his son has never had a problem expressing himself at basketball games.
You know, I was always concerned that he might get a technical and they lose a game because he, you know, start yelling or whatever.
Let's have a hard practice tomorrow, all hour and a half, and let's get ready for Arcadia. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 2. Because he has been so devoted to the team, for the last game of the season, Coach Johnson decided to let Jason actually suit up. Not to play necessarily, just to let him feel what it's like to wear a jersey.
At least that was the plan. But with 4 minutes to go in last week's game, Coach Johnson stood up and pointed to number 52, Jason McElwain. After years of fetching water and toweling off other people's sweat, Jason was actually in a game. His first shot was a 20-footer from the right baseline.
Was it close? Did you almost make it?
I just airballed it.
I'm like, just, dear God, please, let's just get him a basket.
His second shot missed too, but the third was a charm. A three-point no-doubter. And Jason wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot.
If I wasn't there to witness it, I wouldn't have believed it, you know.
You caught fire.
I just caught fire. I was hot as a pistol.
Jason ended up shooting 6 3-pointers. One right after the other. He had 20 points total, and each time a shot went in, his teammates and the crowd went a little crazier. His last basket, right at the buzzer, created total mayhem. Because he is autistic, Jason says he's used to feeling different, but never this different. Never this wonderful. Steve Hartman, CBS News, Rochester, New York.
Give it up for Jason. Not a great story? I love that. And I think to myself, what a great coach. He found the perfect way to recognize that kid, right? Think he'll ever forget that? No way. And then the sports fan in me kicks in, and I think to myself, you know what? That coach was an idiot. That kid should have been playing all year, you know what I mean? He's money from behind the arc. Well, listen, we talked about a lot of things. Don't try to do everything. Pick up 3 things, you know. Maybe it's praise, effort, reward, results, you know, that verbal kind of praise thing. Maybe it's thank you notes, or it's now, often, specific, sincere, 10 pennies. You know, what's your ratio? Maybe it's these random acts of kindness for people in your team. Maybe it's really understanding what their motivators are. Just pick 3, right? And it's interesting to me that, well, and by the way, the reminder, if you want to take that motivators assessment, please, with my compliments. I hope you'll do it, and I hope you'll give me some feedback. But to me, it's really interesting that sometimes we leave all this good thinking at work, and we shouldn't. Let's bring it home with our families. This is why I work. How many of you have kids? How many of your kids are exceptional? Some hesitations, that's okay. Well, this is what our family looks like now. And you know what? This is why we work. This is my little grandson. He's a Jets fan, for which I apologize. But this is the whole thing. This is stuff our parents taught us. Remember to say please and thank you. Pick up after yourself. Don't hit, don't bite. Still good advice. My last question is, are you all in? Will you take what we talked about today and take it back to your teams? Will you do that? Not quite the response I was hoping for. At the end of the sermon, the preacher asked for an affirmation from the congregation. What's the congregation say? Amen. That's right, my brothers and sisters. I got a couple of more carrots for the true believers. Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? And I know what you're thinking. The guy's way in the back. We never get anything. Incoming! Nice catch. Hey, my time is up, but we got a fun raffle. I really appreciate your time. I hope it made a difference. Come on up, Wolfgang. And by the way, one last carrot. Give it up for Wolfgang who pulled this all together. Cheers, my friend.
Thank you so much.
We've got one last thing to do. You talk about transforming your business, and we've done that with our training company. We've got this virtual online certification so that you can better understand people's motivators and how to engage your team. And we usually charge quite a bit of money for it, but for you today, we're going to give away 2 certifications if you're in the room. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have the basket?
We have the basket, and it's your task to choose the 2 winners.
There we go. Can we get a drum roll, everybody on your tables? The first winner is, and I don't have my glasses, who is it?
Miguel Mungunya. He left.
Is he here? He left.
He left. Ah, okay.
Here we go.
Have to go on?
Here's the next one.
Next one. Sherry Fulkerson.
Sherry.
Is Sherry here?
Okay, Sherry, I'm going to give you my business card. We'll set it up for you. Come see me. Okay, for the second one, drum roll. Here we go.
Pamela Campuis Finnegan.
Hey! I'll give you my card. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure for me to be with you here today. I learned so much. I appreciated all the presentations. If you ever need any help, Chester at chesterelton.com. Drop me a note. Happy to help. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Chester.
You bet.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. Thank you. You got it.